Welcome back to Let's Play Shin Megami Tensei. Apologies for how the last video ended. The last few frames I tried to add to it didn't work and the video ended just before I could do a proper send-off. Anyways, we're now in the hospital. The next room another man would explain to us. Anyways, let's talk to this man in a wheelchair. Totally not Stephen Hawking, by the way. It's weird though, I think this is the only game that really does that. Take a celebrity, then try and make him a major character. Like, I think the Persona games have some characters that are based off of real people and such, but no one that's so blatantly inserted in. Especially someone who isn't Japanese. Steven is an odd character in the game, because he sometimes acts like a save point, and other times he will act like this, he will increase the size of your demon summoning program to add in more demons. Such as right now I think you can only house 5, but if you see him again, and if you ask like if you're satisfied with how many there are, say no and he will add 2 more slots. He does that a couple times throughout the game. Anyway, this is a mini dungeon to first get acclimated to the combat, and second, the boss fights. Because at the end of this place, up at the top around here, you're gonna be meeting another boss. Not a particularly difficult one. In fact, he's rather pathetically easy. You'll see. From the start, Yuji is kind of a mix between if you're talking Final Fantasy terms, a black mage and a white mage, so a red mage. He has access to both healing magic and damaging magic, so for the front of the game he will act like a healer, for the most part. Despite what people say, putting it on auto is not like a really bad thing to do. For the most part, it can get through combat really easily, really fast. Though for sure there are times that you should not do it, especially in boss fights, because you can't get out of auto if you turn it on. So only be sure of you're like completely sure you're in control, you aren't gonna lose or die or anything like that. Then you can use auto. Though I will use auto for a lot of these encounters because honestly, enemy encounters in this game are kind of a joke at this point. There are times when they will surprisingly start murdering you immediately, but for the most part, these guys are jokers. Although, if there's a criticism I will give of Shin Megami Tensei, it's the enemy encounter rate. It is random. It's like in any other RPG I played. If I start trying to do anything like grinding or try to get money and such, suddenly I can go entire dungeons without meeting an enemy. And other times like here, you're gonna meet an enemy nearly every 5 steps. Or every first step, apparently. It's incredibly obnoxious, and it's one of the criticisms I've often heard of the series, which I agree with. Oh yeah, and somehow Yuichi got into this area with a gun and a knife. And for some reason, the guards don't take that away from you when I set you in here. See, this is a battle that very easily can be used to put auto on. Because ghosts are pathetic. They're one of the easiest enemies to kill in the game. Although, even though they're so easy, they're annoying in encounters. Mostly because you barely get anything for fighting them. Anyway, now we're finally on our way to the boss. Who, no matter what choice you say here, he's gonna fight you. Now, he looks threatening, but he's actually rather pathetically easy. Just have Kazuya use sword and Yuji use San in every turn. Heal whenever necessary. Otherwise, just keep attacking. He'll go down easily. The main reason this boss is rather pathetically easy is that even though he will do high damage every time he casts a spell, for the most part he's just gonna cast useless spells that attempt to do some sort of messing with your emotions and such, try to make the characters not manage to act. But very often he doesn't manage. Which is why you're gonna win this fight very easily, even if you're new at the game. Such as that, when he casts his sleep on you and yet it doesn't work. That's one of the problems I find with the enemy AI in this game. Not AI, I mean, rather the enemies of this game, because very often they will start casting like these spells at you that really do not work, but will continue to all the time. It's like watching Mitsuru from Persona 3 cast Marin on everything. Oh yeah, another thing that will happen in these early games, walking into walls. Now we're finally on our way out of the hospital, and I believe we're gonna be going to the mall next. It's either the mall or to the park, where the old man was. For some reason that barricade is now gone, so you can just go there. That is, of course, if you can manage to get through all the enemy encounters up here. That's weird. Just about very often, very many of the games will instantly attack you. Usually they give you a turn to give you a chance to at least try and negotiate. Negotiation in this game is a little bit weird, especially if you're used to the later games. Mainly because you're only given two options. You can either talk friendly or you can threaten. Both of these will give you couple of options I usually would see these guys try and ask you for a bunch of things. Usually, these enemies will ask you for a bunch of items. Such as this Pixie, who's asked for an item I don't have, so rather we're just gonna bribe him. Which surprisingly works. Usually these things will start asking of things that I often don't have, for example stones or orbs. And here's me doing a little bit of a back turn to showcase an area that will become important. Same here. Here's the healing area of the game, where you can revive, get rid of curses and such. And of course, as with most of the Shin Megami Tensei games, there's a fusion area. Right now we don't have any outside of Pixie, so there's no point in here. So we're just gonna get out of here and go to the mall. Now, while the other human characters will have magic, what the main character will have is the comp. Basically, he will be the only character in the game who will be able to summon demons in the middle of battle. And here we have a scene of Usawa, who will become more of a major character later on in the game. Right now, he's just a douchebag. And here's the person you're about to recognize. It's Takeshi. Now, Takeshi will also have access to spells. Really powerful spells, if I've learned. When I said he was shit at it, I was really wrong. But for the most part, you do not want to focus into his magic stats. You mostly want to focus on his physical stats. As of now, I kind of realized I had a better weapon than the knife, so let's get rid of it. And here's a little tip for everybody who's going to play this game, or who are currently playing it. Every time you have a weapon that is outclassed by another, immediately switch and then make a beeline for the store and sell it. That's much better than going through most of the game strapped for cash. So since we don't really have any other place to go, let's go home. Oh no. That music means terrible things is about to happen. And the story takes an immediate dark turn. Now, this is a boss as well. He's not difficult either. In fact, in this boss, though, what I did during this boss fight was stupid. I decided after a couple of turns to make a test while recording. And that was put it on auto. Don't do this at all, even if you are extremely overpowered. Because look at this, Takeshi is nearly dead already. And while I find it quite humorous to watch a boss fight just repeatedly get smacked in the face without me having to do anything. It's still nerve-wracking because if Takeshi died, he wouldn't have gotten any experience. And at this point, he will kick up like 5 levels. At certain points, these characters will learn spells. I don't know if it's stuck to the levels they are at or due to the amount of stats they get. That's terrible advice, Yuichi. That's what I said. So since your mother's dead and you don't really have anything to do, you take your dog with you. This is where his importance comes in. Although, now it's time to save. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time for Let's Play Shin Megami Tensei.